I will be forever the myth.
You're the king of kings,
There's always a pecking order. The little packers never mess with the big packers. So I'm a rooster, and he's a chicken, so to speak.
Let's talk about 83, the Junior Nationals, and you won the light heavyweight class, and Rich Gaspari won the overall, and you guys were both about 20, 21 years old. I mean, I think Rich was 20. You were like 20, 21, right?
Yep. Yeah, he was a little
So
bit.
how did you feel winning the light heavyweight class? There was some good guys in that. Rick Purcelli.
Yeah, well, I mean, I came in looking good. It was the first, Bob Gruskin, helped me out and tried to down me in for that show.
Okay.
And it was kind of crazy because I didn't, I was married at the time, and my parents hadn't seen me, for like 6 weeks because, I was busy with my family and my wife. Well, I ended up, I was sitting in the audience, like early in the show, and, waiting for my parents to come. They went right by me. They didn't even recognize me because I had changed and I was so drawn, like my face, everything was so drawn. And like they go, "Oh my God, I didn't even know that was you." And then plus at that time, I always kind of liked the blonde hair. And so at that time, I think I was even bleached at the
right.
Because I felt like I was like David, the David and Goliath, where long hair. Unlike everybody's has a shaved head or bald today. Where
I know we all had hair back in the 80s, right?
Yeah, like we all. Yeah, I thought that was like a symbol of.
We had good hair in the 80s.
Yeah, exactly. So, but competing against Rich, it was really nice that. I won the light heavyweights. I mean, it was a strong class, but I think, my overall symmetry, sharpness, hardness, I think, it was a deserved win. And when I competed in the overall, Rich's legs were, there you go again, Rich's legs were a little bit sharper than mine.
Yeah.
And, it could have gone either way, because there were parts on me that were a little sharper than his. I remember, but he was the first guy to ever like nudge me on the stage, like, like a bully.
Yeah.
I kind of shoved him back a little bit, but now Rich and I have been great friends, and that was kind of the first time we really met. And
that was the first time you met? Okay.
Yeah, that was the first time. First time we met, and like I have a really great picture of him and I outside that show where we were shaking hands, and you talk about hair. He and I had great hair.
Right.
It looked like we were wearing wigs.
Yeah. Were you aware of Rich back then? Because he was from New Jersey and he was doing pretty good in the teenage shows.
Yeah. I was aware of him, but I didn't, realize, how good he was until I actually saw him. Like I didn't see, because you have to remember those magazines. If you think about it, I have one here. If you remember this, do you remember this? This.
Oh yeah. There you go. Muscle up.
That? Yeah. Well, when you think about it, you got to remember photos at that time. They were like black and white. Like you couldn't tell how people truly looked because it was just black and white. And,
right. That's true. Yeah.
So, I mean, you could see that they were good, but you couldn't judge them about like perception of how big they are. What are they?
How refined and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And so, but I enjoyed competing against him, and, there were judges that did say, I did have you first and then I put you second. And I was like, well, that's nice. Tell me after the show that, right. But hey, Rich won and he looked great and he deserved it. And, and he's had a great career, and, I consider him a very good friend. And, Rich inspires me, he's such a driven individual. And, he and I just talk about, just normal life things nowadays.
Yeah.
But you know, he's one of the guys that I'm really glad that I got to know. And you know, just like you, John, you know, there's a lot of good people in this sport, even though we're all trying to achieve very similar goals, and you know, would all like to be the winners. But you know, it's, you know, at least you know the people that do win or beat you are good people, and you can feel good about them winning. You know, you just So, but
I'm sure he was a little bit more aggressive in those days. You know, being a young 20-year-old. You know.
Oh yeah. Well, he wanted.
Rich has calmed down a little bit now. He's
he wanted. Well, he wanted to push me off the stage.
Right.
I know, because I remember us getting into a little, you know, pushing battle. You know, posing down and things, and you know, I was like, geez, but it was fun. I mean, you know what? I'll tell you, his physique, like when he was training with Haney and trying to beat Lee Haney, because I remember meeting Lee Haney for the first time. Yeah. Hey, Dave, man, you look like hey, Lee is such a. He goes, you're really big. He goes, you know, like, I mean, he came to Pittsburgh to pose at Jimmy Mannion's, and, you know, but Rich was training with him at the time. And there again, there's another good Christian super guy that everybody just loves to death. And I love him. And, you know, I mean, they're just good people. But I'll tell you, when Rich trained for that Olympia against him, and his posing routine and everything, he was on target. Like, I mean, he was so hard. His veins looked like big straps coming out everywhere. And I'm thinking, wow, that's it. It's impressive. He, you know, that's, you know, I mean, he was right there. Yeah, that's the thing. It's like, how do you compete against Lee Haney that has such great framework and structure and height? Mm-hmm. And Rich, though he was just as good, you know, he can't take away that the more narrow shoulders, the more stocky build. And though he deserved every bit as much to win that show, you know, because of how good he looked, you know, it's just, you know, when you're talking about, you know, again, that's genetics. It's like very hard to beat somebody like Lee Haney, who really, you know, had a better physique than Arnold. I mean, everybody puts Arnold, like, I think Arnold's upper body was great, you know, and he, like, Arnold was, you know, very good in a lot of ways, you know, and like he had the separations, the symmetry, and lots of good things. But, you know, when it really comes down to it, if you look at, you know, the Mr. Olympias, you know, Samir Banu and Haney, and even though Dorian was great, you know, I like the guy, and, you know, you look at Frank Zane, I like the guys who had the flowing, you know, symmetry, you know, like everything looked proportional, and, you know, kind of it all met, you know what I mean? So, okay. That's just me personally, but you know,
So the next year, now you win your class at the Junior Nationals. So the next year you go to the USA. What was the decision to do the USA instead of the Nationals, or that was just the first one that came along?
It was just the timing of everything. You know, it was in San Jose. I got to meet Mike Christian there. I met Samir Badu for the first time. Oh, wow. Yeah. It's like, I was like, oh, here's a Mr. Olympia competitor. My arms are as big as his. And I mean, Samir, I'll tell you, Samir, I mean, when you see him in some photos, you think, why, you know, how he didn't win more Mr. Olympias than he did. I mean, really, Samir has to be one of the most perfect professional bodybuilders, from posing to aesthetics, size, symmetry, good looks, you know, great hair. I thought, man, exactly. So, and, but again, you know, I went to San Jose and competed. I came in heavy in that show. Like,
you did the heavyweight.
I thought, you know, I didn't want to go down to the light heavyweights, you know, because I started putting on some good muscle. And, you know, I thought that from the way I saw some of the judging going, I thought they want hardness, but they also want size. And so I pushed that, and ultimately, you know, Gary Stridham was in my class, and I mean, he's a freak. He's a good guy. He's also a freak. There's another awesome, great bodybuilder. But again, like, even though Gary was good and won the class, I mean, his physique, his shoulders and chest are big, but his back's a little
Right.
on the weaker side compared to some of the other guys. But then again, his legs were so incredible that, you would overlook the back and, just focus on his most musculars and things. And
Yeah.
he drew the win that way. So, but he was a super competitor. But
Yeah.
there were a lot of good guys in that class. But then that's where, I think I took fourth in that year.
Neil Spruce was third and John Lloyd was second. Remember
Yeah.
John Lloyd, and then Gary was first. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but, and then, that's where in 85, I decided to come back and compete as a light heavyweight. I knew I had.
Why did you decide to go to light heavyweight, Dave? Was it because, well, like Rich did the same thing, right? Because the year before he competed as a heavyweight, and then he went down to light heavyweight and got the universe win.
Yeah. And that's, I mean, you have to remember, I used to train at Mannion's gym. That's where we all trained. I mean, even it's kind of crazy when I trained at Mannion's gym, it used to take me 2 hours to get there.
Really? Wow. Is that far? Huh?
Yeah. Well, it's not, it was that far. I was at Pitt at the time. And also, just whether I was coming from home, I didn't have a vehicle, and, my buddy and I would take buses. So we'd take a bus from this place and then would have to wait a half hour till the next bus came. So by the time so it was like, it might have not been 2 hours, but it felt like 2 hours. But it was literally like an hour to get from one location to his gym, because, would go from where we were at into Pittsburgh over to, towards the Carnegie area, and then another bus. So it actually took us 3 bus rides to get to the gym, and then, 3 bus rides back home. But we were dedicated and we did it at the time. And then thank God my parents gave me a car, and that changed the thing, because they realized I was taking a lot of bus rides, that they thought maybe we should give them the car. So, but no, Jimmy was very influential, in my career, and, keeping me inspired and pushing me along. And, and when you have good, quality people who, just tell you the truth and say, hey, some people, you can be, we all have it, we can all feel we look good and do certain things. And then you pose for somebody and then they go, well, you need this and you almost take it like, how can you even say that to me?
Right.
I mean, because how hard you've trained to get to look this way. But then they are honest and they say, listen, the only way you're going to do well is if you get to around this weight and you can display that level of hardness and muscularity, to win the show. And so I took that in, and when I came out for the USA, I was pretty sharp. And the thing was that I knew Matt Mendenhall, God bless him. We've lost a lot of good people.
Oh, we lost a lot of people just last year alone. Yeah.
And Matt Mendenhall, super good looking guy, just aesthetic, physique,
phenomenal.
I was like, I kind of like to imagine I was his like his a little mini twin.
Right.
Well. But no, that's the thing. I trained against. I kept him in my mind and kept looking, and thought how I can beat him is if I'm tighter than him. The only way I'm going to beat this guy is if I come in sharper and harder, because even though I may not be as heavy or, and I said, I can remember back to those days, I knew that I needed to be as tight as possible, maintain as much muscle as possible. But the illusion on stage, I will look, if I come in harder, I will look better than him, because it's, that's the thing. You get caught up in this. You have to have a certain weight that you need to be on that stage. Yeah. And the problem with having that weight number in your head is that you don't come in as good. I mean, there can be, look at this. I mean, I tied with Bertil Fox at the Night of Champions, and that was kind of a weird win at that time, because that was one of the shows that they said they were actually testing. And so I came in completely clean.
Oh, did you really?
Oh, yeah. It's like, and you're not testing these guys.
Yeah, right.
I'm like, oh, am I stupid? Like, yeah. So, but anyways, it's the thing that, I could stand next to a guy who's literally 15, 20 pounds heavier than me, and I can match up, and, just because of my frame and the way things look, my muscle bellies might be a little leaner or smaller, but, it's all an illusion up there.
Yeah.
And, coming in as a light heavyweight really helped me to.
What was the weight difference, Dave, between 94 and 95?
I came when I was, so when I competed in the USA as a heavyweight, I was probably about 217, 218.
Okay.
And naturally, I was 20 pounds lighter.
Light
heavy. Yeah. It was hard to get down. Like once I had put that muscle on, and and again, you have to remember, even when you have muscle, the more muscle you have, the more water your body can hold as well. I mean, just, naturally your body's gonna, and then, the problem is the water's in the muscle, and if it spills out, then you're screwed. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because then you flatten out. But it's one of those things where, I was about 218, at that time. And then in 85, I was just made light heavyweights.
Richard Stevens.
In 85, I was just made light heavyweights. And then when I went to the World Games, you know, I really dieted down. Here was a weird thing. We went over like, almost like 5 days early before the show. Okay. Yeah, because weigh-ins were early.
Okay.
Well, actually, I weighed in at, I made, we got to, London, Steve did his thing by nailing my feet to the wall. And then, we got weighed in and got all done. And, I made the 198. And then by the time I competed, I was 208.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. And I was staying on my diet, but I was eating more calories that whole entire time because I felt like that whole time I was like burning up because Steve was pushing me to do more cardio. He was just, being a good friend and, and training, while I was there and posing. And I just kept feeling like I was flattening out. And then I ended up eating and carving up for 4 days before the show. And again, but with, managing my water, but, doing it, not splurging, not like you splurge after a show.
Right.
But because of the increased calories and because my body was so depleted, I came in and was in the light heavyweight class at 207 or 208 that day.
Wow. Yeah. So what was the reaction from the bodybuilding media and the judges and everything after that? Because that was a huge win for you.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the USA or the Worlds?
The Worlds.
The Worlds. No, it was, everybody thought that, that they saw the potential of me competing on the Olympia stage.
Yeah.
Ultimately, that's when, Joe Weider had asked me to come out to do a photo shoot, and that was like kind of my real first photo shoot.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And so, but then Joe wanted me to actually move out there. And, he said, Dave, in his voice, come on, Dave, you got to come out here. He goes, I'll get you set up and you can train with the guys. And okay. And then actually I asked Jimmy Mannion about it and Jim goes, you're not moving to California.
Huh.
Jim said, Dave, he goes, why would you do that? And I'm here, well, don't you think it would help? And he goes, no, he goes, build yourself up, keep doing what you're doing. And he goes, eventually you can go to California. He goes, you got your family back here. And, he said, he said, if it was just you, I'd say go.
Yeah.
If he goes,
married and you got kids.
He goes, married and kids. He goes, listen, he goes, that lifestyle out there is not for you. And he goes, I'm saying it more as like a father figure than just being your friend. He said, he goes, because he looked at me like JM. He's, because I was the same age as JM. JM and I actually went to Pitt together. and we've been friends for many, many years, and they're family to me.
Yeah.
But he really kind of, so who would have known if I would have went out to California, maybe something big would have happened, but, I chose to, follow and not go, not that that was a bad decision. I'm just saying, Jimmy felt that because of my, with my wife and kids and things, he said, what, just stay here. You're going to progress. You're going to do good. Just keep, staying focused. So,
well, we've all heard stories about guys that went out there and it did kind of mess them up, because it is a fast lifestyle out there. So it was probably good advice from Jim.
It is good advice. In the long run, I couldn't be more happier with my life that I have.
Right.
Actually, I'm very dedicated. I'm still in the industry. I work behind the scenes on a lot of stuff. I used to be out there in the front, in those earlier days, but I'm still involved in the sport. And ultimately, it's one of those things where I still work within the nutritional industry, in developing innovation nutrition that actually comes out within the supplement industry.
Yeah.
So I'm still involved in that part of the business. And in that's from, I was able to take the bodybuilding and turn it into a business.
Yeah. That's great.
Bodybuilding helped put me in the right place to, I know all the ingredient manufacturers, I know all the retailers, I know the buyers, I know it's a full circle of the group that I have associated with. And so I was able to take what is needed from bodybuilding, fitness, weight training, sports performance, and build that into a career. So even though I don't compete, I still live the lifestyle and am in the industry of this sport. And that's great because everybody can't be number one in it.
Yeah.
There's always going to be somebody better than you. And
how long have you been involved with that, Dave?
Oh, 30 years. Yeah.
30 years. Wow.
Yeah. Actually, So believe it or not, John, I'm actually, I do consulting work with a few different companies, and I have a company called Super Brood. Actually, here's the thing, chicken, I used to eat 40 pounds of chicken a week.
Right.
I even built a snack line. I don't know if you've ever seen that chicken snack line that we have out there. This is a chicken breast in a bag. It's called Physically Fit. Well, anyways, chicken is becoming like obsolete. Actually, there's things happening in our industry, and nowadays due to the pandemic and bird flu and other things, chicken is, look at the price of chicken when you go to, get a chicken breast.
Right.
I mean, chicken is a great source of protein, but it's becoming limited. And there's, and with the population growth, and certain things, and you got to remember, more people are eating healthier. So that means the more people that aren't eating McDonald's are eating the chicken that you or other fitness people would want.
Right.
So it limits what's out there. And then, you've got big business that takes advantage of that, and they're going to charge you more. We've got gas prices going up like crazy.
Yeah.
So, but uniquely enough, I try to stay ahead of the curve on protein innovation. I actually launched the first chicken protein isolate and powders into the market, and broth is still big, but chicken meat protein is becoming very difficult to get. And there are challenges with it. And actually, we are trying to be more sustainable. And actually, there's a guy named Brian Tracy, who's a food scientist who has developed a unique fermented bacterial cultured protein. So actually, he was able to develop, and this is like a whole patented process. You look at an elephant and you look at gorillas and you say, well, how can these animals maintain so much muscle and so much strength, and all they eat are bark and plants? They're not eating meat. And some gorillas get meat here and there, but that's not what they eat. The point is that their guts are made to convert fiber and starch into protein. So it actually, their bodies are built to where their gut flora breaks down and kind of ferments all that fiber and all that starch that they're eating, from plants, and converts it into complete protein. So Brian Tracy was able to take, and it's called Super Brewed Foods, not a super fancy website, but it's the science behind the technology. And it's a sustainable cultured protein that literally he was able to take and almost in some ways through fermentation, create what happens in a gut of a gorilla and convert fiber and starch and sugars into a whole complete food protein source. So imagine it. Yeah. So it's grown. It's a form of bacterial protein, but it's a healthy bacteria that, you think about penicillin, think about how it grows on bread but when it's, analyzed and how it works in the body, it's an antibiotic. You know what I mean? It works. That's kind of a similar process that, these fiber and starches, and I may not be explaining it completely right, but people will learn about it soon, but they can actually take fiber and starch and grow a whole complete food protein source, complete with amino acids. The BCAAs are 2 to 2 to 2. We're so used to 2 to 1 to 1 on BCA, because that's what whey protein has in it. That's what some other proteins, but all of them, whether it's leucine, isoleucine, or valine, they actually should be equal. There's really no study that says, oh, this should be 2 to 1 to 1.
Right.
It's just, that's how it turned out in whey protein. The point is that, whether you're taking, leucine's the most important, but isoleucine and valine are just as important. So what's unique is this has a 2 to 2 to 2 BCA component. So it's higher than whey protein. It's actually also has all your non-essential amino acids. It also has, what was I going to say? In addition, aspartic acid. Did you know that aspartic acid, when you take aspartic acid, it actually stimulates the brain and luteinizing hormones, so you produce more testosterone. So it actually is higher in aspartic acid. So not only does it have your standard amino acids, but also, your essentials. And you'll get, like, if you think about it, so like most protein shakes, it takes like a 16 ounce to get in 33 grams of protein. Well, you can have an 8 ounce of this concentrated cultured protein and get in the same 32 grams of protein. I mean, it's so it's like a less mass protein, more concentrated protein. And uniquely enough, in this protein and how this happens, I'm still trying to understand it myself. It has vitamins, minerals, and a full dose of vitamin B. So where whey protein, pea protein, rice protein, soy protein are great protein sources, there's no vitamin nutrition unless you add it to it. Right. This actually takes in the cultured, fermented process, actually grows the vitamin nutrition from these byproducts, and it becomes a whole complete food protein. So it's protein and vitamins and minerals.
Wow, that's amazing.
And it's sustainable. I mean, so I think it's going to be incredibly great for our industry, especially with people, just any dieter to general health. I mean, when you're looking for protein, I mean, just think about it. The world's kind of in a crazy place. It's hard to get eggs, hard to get meat, hard to get milk, hard to get chicken, hard to get even plant protein. Things are happening. Yeah. Well, here we're able to get a restorable source through fiber and starches and sugar and grow protein. So imagine that. I mean, it's amazing. So, I mean, and there's more to come. So, I mean, I didn't give you the full details on that, but
your company is doing all this, Dave.
A company that I'm working with, yes, and it's all brand new science, new innovation, and that's the thing. When we're looking at sustainable cars and sustainable sustainable food sources. Well, that's the thing. There's a lot of people to feed, and you can give them a food protein source that you can literally grow, almost like how it's kind of like when you make beer. How when you make beer and you ferment things, it's the same thing. Or, it's kind of like when you make cheese, they take, the byproduct of cheese when they're making cheese that turns into whey protein.
Right.
Well, ultimately, here's a new non-dairy, non-plant, all organic, natural food source protein, that is, going to be really exciting. I don't know if you, and I can't even think of but Matt Damon was in a movie where he was on Mars, and he actually had to survive.
Yeah.
And on Mars, this is what they could be doing. You could be on a planet, and as long as you had this fiber and starch or these byproducts, you could literally, ferment it and turn it into a protein source. So,
wow. Okay.
Yeah.
I remember him doing that in the movie.
Yeah. And exactly. So, well, anyways.
Yeah. I just listened to a podcast last week, and they were talking about how the food supply is going to become limited, and we're going to run it. And they were actually suggesting on the podcast that you should make friends with a farmer if you want to make sure you're going to be able to get protein in the future.
Exactly. Yeah. There's been a big cultural shift, a lot of stuff, and I think back, I hate to say it. I remember, Arnold going from a meat eater to this high plant protein
vegan.
But at the same time, it's like, there are things that, we just have to, we got to just be trying to pay attention and, but at the same time, you need protein and, hopefully this is going to be a new viable source for bodybuilders, fitness people, dieters, just anybody. And, the really cool thing is it's all natural, all organic. And, at the same time, there's no allergen. It's allergen free. It's completely allergen free. And the big thing is when you test it, it's, complete like whey, complete like, other sustainable proteins, but but it also gives you your vitamins, minerals, and a lot more. So,
that's exciting.
Yeah. So, but
well, let's finish up by talking about your pro career, Dave. You got your pro card after that World Games. So that was cool too, that you did the USA on the same year they had the World Games, because people that don't remember, they used to have the World Games every 4 years, kind of like the Olympics.
Right.
And the World Games was for sports that were not in the Olympics, but were like being considered, I guess, to be in the Olympics. And
exactly.
And back in the 80s, bodybuilding was one of those sports. So every 4 years, if you won the World Games, it was kind of like winning. It was the same thing as winning the Mr. Universe, where you could get your pro card because you were beating the best amateurs in the world. So you go into the USA the same year they have the World Games. So you were able to win your class at the World Games. Unfortunately, Matt Mendenhall didn't, and then he never got his pro card.
Right.
Because he lost to Barry DeMay that year.
Yeah.
So you get your pro card. So what's the plan now for 86? You did the World Pro Championships, right? Which became the Arnold later on.
Yep. Exactly. So I got invited to the Pro World, which now is the Arnold, and I placed fourth there. I mean, that's I think Lee Labrada won it that year, right?
No, Rich won, and
Rich won. That's right. Yeah. Actually, no, I was saying that's right. Labrada beat me in the Night of Champions. That's right.
Right. Yeah.
There's another great guy and great physique.
Yeah.
Still going strong. But yeah, that's right. Rich won that year. That was he looked phenomenal. But it was great to be. It was great to be in on the stage again with him and others.
Back at the Veterans Coliseum in Columbus, Ohio, let the competition begin. Meet 23-year-old David Hawk. He trains at Gold's Gym in Pittsburgh, 5'8", 213 pounds, a man who captured a Mr. USA title and a Mr. World title just 1 year ago.
Dave has all three elements that judges like to see in a top physique: symmetry, proportion, muscularity. He has all three in abundance. Dave's back shot, flexing the calf, up into the back shot, showing the muscularity of the upper back. He could be a little bit sharper around the lower back and around the midsection, but there, the obliques don't look bad there, and the serratus, the abdominals. Good posing. He's got a very good mixture of poses and positions. Good variety here.
6 days per week, 3.5 hours per day, he will work on the sculpturing process.
Side chest pose. Very nice.
Let's go backstage and meet Dave Hawk with Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Dave, you are really a newcomer to professional bodybuilding. How does it feel competing against those experienced bodybuilders that have been around for so many years?
Well, basically, it's exciting because these are people that I saw in the magazines that were my idol as I was starting. Now competing against them is something special. I'm really enjoying myself.
So do you think you have a disadvantage now against those guys because this is your first kind of professional contest?
Basically, no, it's youth is in and health is in, and I think you can do it at any age. I hope to place pretty decent in this show and keep on striving for higher goals. But no, there's no disadvantage as far as, well, they might have experience, but as well as...
Okay, thank you very much and good luck in the future. Okay, thank you.
How did you feel doing your first pro show? That'd be
I
exciting.
felt great. I kind of, you know, I kind of got a little scared, so I came in a little bigger in that show.
Okay.
So yeah, because I ended up competing, you know, well, even though there aren't any weight classes, you know, I was a heavyweight. I competed at 212 that year, and it was one of those things where, but I was still hard and still tight. You know, I mean, probably could have been a little bit sharper, but it was a great experience. I mean, I enjoyed being there, and but you know, it's like anything else. You know, I wish I could get rid of those nervous jitters that you get when you go there. Like you're all set mentally, physically, and then you go and you look at everybody, and then you go, "Oh man." You start questioning yourself.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, it was your first pro show too, though. So it's
exactly.
You know?
Exactly. So I mean, it's, you know, it was nice. And then, you know, I mean, compared to an amateur show, you know, you're treated better. I mean, there has a nice pump up room. There's places to, you know, oil up and, you know, prep, and you're able to have a coach or assistant or somebody help you. So I mean, it was good.
And that was on TV too. It was on ESPN.
They were actually giving the sport some coverage then.
Right. That was a great contest. I thought Rich looked the best he ever looked in his life.
Oh
God, he was amazing at that contest.
Yeah.
So then you did the Night of the Champions a couple months later, and that, like you said, that was one Lee Labrada won. And that was
exactly. Yeah. So crazy enough, you know, you talk about the Night of Champions. So I came actually into the Night of Champions all set to do well in that show, and I still took fourth. You know, I was happy with it. I did, well, actually, maybe it wasn't that Night of Champions. Maybe it was the second Night of Champions. I just remember you gotta remember, it's been so many years, these events, you know, but, you know, I mean, I remember competing against John Natashak and lots of good competitors at that show.
I think that was 87. Yeah.
Natashak
was in 87.
Yeah. What was the other guy's name from the UK that was in there? God.
Oh, Frank Richard.
Yeah, Frank Richards. Yeah. He looked great. I mean, then Scott Wilson. Yeah. Lots of good guys. Well, I remember being at one of the Night of Champions, whether it was that year or the following year. And you know, Wayne D'Amelia was, I guess, running those shows.
Yeah, he was running them.
And Bill Katz was actually judging one. And a year that I don't know if it was that year or not, but you talk about a funny story. I just remember Bill Katz coming. I pulled out of the driveway after.
You mean Mike Katz, Dave?
Yeah, Mike Katz. Sorry. Yeah, Mike Katz. So damn, 60s hitting me hard. No, Mike Katz. Yeah. So Mike's a super good guy, but Mike is, he kind of, like, I was leaving after pre-judging. It was like a really long, like the judging seemed to go on forever. You know, years ago. Like, I mean, nowadays they're like boom, boom, boom.
Yeah,
boom.
they get done. Yeah.
Yeah, they get, yeah. And here I was, you know, for 2.5 hours posing on stage. And Mike Katz goes to me, "Oh my God, Dave, dude, you look really good." I'm here. Well, I just competed. He goes, oh, and he was judging the show.
Do you remember seeing it?
Yeah, he and I have no idea. And I was like, and then he comes back. He goes, I am so sorry, Dave. He was having probably a brain fart like I was.
Yeah.
That's now, call them Bill Cats. You know what I mean?
Right.
And he comes back. He goes, oh my God, Dave. He goes, I'm really sorry. Because I saw you up there. And he goes, because the thing was, he goes, you look so different in your car, and he goes, and it just, he goes, I just wanted to say hi and I wasn't expecting, he goes, yeah. Anyway, so it was just a funny thing. And I'm thinking, okay, well, we're both losing it now, but no, right. But he did come back and he goes, oh, by the way, he goes, you placed. And so maybe it was that year, but that's kind of a funny story. Cause those judges are looking at lots of guys.
Oh
sometimes, and I mean, there were very large lineups at those shows.
Oh yeah. The Night of Champions was huge.
Oh yeah.
So many
exactly.
guys.
I mean, Wayne DeMaio used to do a great job. I mean, that was, he made the show feel like a show.
Right.
And so, it was a lot of fun.
What do you think of Lee Labrada in that show? That was his first show or first pro.
Yeah, no, Lee, I mean, he was kind of like, a Fuller, Frank Zane, aesthetically, he had everything going for him. He had a well-desered win there, That
was a show also where Barry DeMay didn't make the top 5, right? And the crowd was booing and stuff.
Yeah. Probably because I beat him.
Yeah, right. You got 5th. Yeah.
Barry should have beat Hawk. Yeah. So, when I think about those days, because Barry's still around, there's a lot of good guys that are still running, actually, coming back, like, you look at Roy Littmeyer and some of them that, still have, like, they're tipping 60 or are 60 or, you know what I mean? And I always think, wouldn't it be kind of cool to get the same old group of guys back together? Like even you, like, hey, let's all get ready for this show and let's kind of repeat this show and see what it's like.
Right.
Don't kill yourself, but let's do it and let's get people to join in and watch us on YouTube or somewhere.
Yeah. Yeah, that would be cool.
Yeah, because I mean, actually, I think people would. I think just like the Masters. I mean, it's great to see new Masters, but I do think that there is a very large audience that was really impacted by our sport from the late 80s to the late 90s. That would like go, wow, I'd pay for that. You know what I mean? I'd love to see these. Can you get these guys back? And I mean, it'd be nice if there was like kind of money in it. That it would make sense that
pull it off,
could pull it off. But that it's a nice dream. But it's because John, like even though you aren't competing or do it, you still have it in your blood. You still
still body.
Every time you touch the weight or pose, you feel like I could do that again.
Right. And so that's why I started this podcast, because there's still an audience for that golden age, the 70s and 80s. People still love hearing about it.
Yeah, and it's great that I love when people from that era can still appreciate it. And I mean I don't like to hear them condemn the younger guys too much. I mean that's kind of the sport has kind of pushed them that way. I mean, I'll tell you, I like I said, I wish they could dial it back a little bit. Mm-hmm. I mean, not with board shorts, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, but just dial it back a little bit to, try to, keep people safer. And then,
I was thinking about that too. Like, how do you go backwards? I mean, I don't know if the fans would accept, smaller guys, but I mean,
I think it's, what it is, John. I think, and they've tried to do it with that, 210-pound class, but I think really the idea is that if they could bring more showmanship to it and make it more entertaining, even though nobody wanted to see Vince McMahon, take over the IFBB or things of that sort back then, the concept was right. The concept of the show, the concept of, I mean, look at this, I've worked with Kurt Angle, for, since 1996, when he won the Olympic gold medal. Mm-hmm. I mean, good friend of mine, the best wrestler on the planet, but then got into sports entertainment and was the best professional wrestler as well. Like, I mean, he could act, he could entertain. His character was what it was. It's kind of what Vince molded the character
Right.
of Angle to be. But when it came to talent, it was his talent in the ring. He had the athletic ability, and they've got millions. They've got 60 million fans worldwide that dial in to watch it. I mean, imagine if we could be doing that with bodybuilding, where not that you're trying to make it a spectacle and you still, but the problem is that our industry is letting social media run who's the best bodybuilders or the best fitness people. And it's really, it really needs a governing body. I mean, we have one out there, with the NPC and the IFBB. It's just, why aren't they taking, and transforming the sport into a little bit more entertainment and trying to figure out how that works.
I always talk about how the posing needs to improve, but it just doesn't seem like people aren't. I mean, there are some good posers now, but I think overall it needs a lot more. People need to be better posers.
Oh yeah. And then there needs to be better criteria to posing, like how you do poses, and that it's not just the standard mandatory poses. Maybe you need to be able to show that you can bend down or get up or do certain things, that make it, make it a bit more entertaining. So, I mean, show the more athletic side of the athlete. So it's just not how big and hard you are, but there is some athletic component to it.
Yeah. So after you did that Night of the Champions in '87, Dave, you didn't compete for a few years, right? Until '91.
Yeah. So what happened was I was getting ready for the Mr. Olympia, and actually, I went over to London to do I was going to London, Scotland, and a couple other areas where we were doing kind of meet and greets. And what had happened was I went over there, and I was probably about, 240, 250 at the time. And they had me staying at various people's homes. So there's like, I can't remember their names back then, but there's one place I stayed, and they said, "Hey, don't use the towels. My husband has shingles." And okay, that's cool. But they had me staying at various, good people from the area. Just, hey, do you mind if, there's no hotel here? Could we have Dave Hawk stay a night, because we got this, got him going to this gym to do a seminar and blah, blah, blah. Okay. So somewhere along that travel, I picked up E. coli. And, and whether it was from the food or something, but I ended up towards the end of my, because I stayed there for a couple of weeks. I ended up I first got a cold, and then the cold seemed to felt like it was turning into pneumonia. Next thing, the whole side of my head was swelling out. And I woke up the next day. I was supposed to fly out, and I woke up in the hotel. And my wife flew in because I went for 2 weeks. She came for a week. Well, we were getting ready to head back. Well, the night before the morning we're supposed to go back, I got up and I went to the bathroom and I passed out and put my head through a porcelain tub. So this bacteria got into my brain and was actually causing me to convulse. And then the promoters over there said, "You know what?" They said, "Don't go to the hospitals here, because you won't come out." Or, they didn't feel very good about me going to their hospitals. They said, "You know what? We'll just cut it. Let's get you flown back." Thank God I flew back. Well, the next morning, because of the travel time, came back. Well, I ended up passing out in my house and ended up in the hospital. And, I had this bacteria in my blood, and they put me on tons of antibiotics and all this other stuff. And that's when the stories came out years ago. They go, "Oh, Dave Hawk has liver cancer." And I don't know if you remember, there was, some rumors back then, but actually because I got so sick at that time, it really kind of, and what they had to do is they got the bacteria under control. Like I said, it's like a form of E. coli. Yeah. They wanted to blame it on the steroids. I had no health issues from the steroids that I had taken at the time. And, cause I was always under medical supervision and tried to do things right. And so I didn't think that would be the issue, but like I said, so I had this bacteria and that it was getting into my brain, but that they couldn't understand what was creating the convulsions. But you can imagine, bodybuilders at that time, they're a rumor gets out,
Yeah,
in
the
the
rumor
hospital, people are say you're dying. And, so I had to have some magazine retractions done, which they did. But it was a scary time. And so ultimately it made me rethink things, like, wow, man, I was really sick. So the thing I did have to do is I had to get operated on. They took my tonsils out because it had my whole neck infected because my neck was swollen, side of my head was swollen, and they had to get it out of my tonsils. So, you got to remember it. I think I was like 25, 26, maybe 27 at the time, but I ended up, you can't eat for weeks after you get your tonsils out. Just trying to get back to health, lost a lot of weight and trying to come back from, between that 87, to, 90 timeframe. I had a real mental challenge because, I thought, wow, I could be here today and gone tomorrow. That was kind of a scary thing. And so, but I did come back and, I competed again, but, it was just, I got very sick over in London and, that was like almost like a COVID experience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Like I didn't know if I was going to make it or not. Yeah, exactly. That's the whole point. But actually the doctor said, no, you're healthy, strong. All your blood stuff's good. He said, we gotta heavily antibiotic you. And, so they had me on, tons of antibiotics, IV antibiotics to IV drips, just to, put my nutrition in me and stuff. And so I got better, but they said, man, they said your tonsils have so much bacteria in them, and they said, we gotta take those out and scrape your throat. And, after I had that surgery done, I literally couldn't eat for 8 weeks. It was like, it was like a Jello diet, Jello and ice cream. Not necessarily good for bodybuilding.
No, not good for building muscle.
Yeah. So
how was it when you came back, Dave, in the 90s?
When I came back and, realizing, I've got 2 little kids and things, it just, I just wanted to be more sensible about what I did. But then I just kind of lost, somewhere around that time, I lost a little passion of how far how hard I'm going to push my health, because here I am, I went over there healthy, but, I was all bulked up and, naturally, I'm like, because, I'm heavy, even though I tried to stay in some decent shape. But it was really one of those things where, when I came back and lost so much weight and looked at my kids, it just changed my perspective of, did I really want to continue down this road of bodybuilding, having these 2 little ones that depend on me. And so,
and you had already started your business and stuff at that time?
Yeah. So I was in the, what's kind of, I got into the publication side of the business, so I was actually, working with a group where we put out, a couple different magazines, Let's Live magazine and Muscle and Body for GNC. And basically we were, talking about health and nutrition. And that's really where I maintained my focus, is that, why did I get into bodybuilding is because I wanted to be healthier, be stronger, and take care of myself. And, and like I said, who knows what's going to get you, it's like, it's not always, the drugs that people think it is. There's other things out there that can get you as well. Many things. So,
but then you came back and you did a couple of master shows, right? Back in
So well, that's the thing, because it's still, I would love to come back now, John. Get ready for the Masters, right. 2023. And who knows? Maybe somebody will call and say, "Hey, Dave, you need to do that."
At the over 60.
I mean, hey, I'm relatively healthy, other than I've had reconstruction on both elbows, reconstruction on both knees. I mean, it would be great just to go in lean and be in shape, and just for the sheer passion of it. I think of guys like Albert Beckles and people who competed in their 60s. And I think, well, I'd really like to do that, but can I do it? That's another story. I mean, I don't know if I'm too banged up or hurt to do it, but I'm going to use that as some motivation right now, John, to get myself in the gym.
Yeah, good.
Even though I may not compete, I am going to try to.
Right. Just have that as a goal. Right.
I think there's a little dream underline of something,
Yeah.
Because, I tell you this, I see Rich still pushing hard at the gym and other guys, that are just a little younger or same age as me. And just like you, John. I've let these injuries and a little bit of depression hold me back from it. And so, I'm feeling like my legs are getting back on track. Yeah, I'll tell you, when you can't walk up your steps and stuff, right? You look at Ronnie Coleman, super great guy.
I know.
Trained his ass off, but it's like when you become crippled a bit, it's challenging mentally. What I mean? Because you just don't. It's like literally, John. I can only do a leg extension with 30 pounds right now. Like I'm still trying to get my patellas and all my tie-ins to work right. But my leg extensions are literally 20 reps with 30 pounds. Yeah. And I feel it like the next day I'm like, wow, man. So, but I mean, they'll get back. Yeah. I mean, I had some serious injuries there, but we'll see.
Okay. So. All right, Dave, well, we'll wrap it up here. I can't thank you enough for coming on the show and talking about your career. And I've always looked up to you all these years. So it was great to finally reconnect with you and talk to you about everything.
Absolutely. Well, hopefully I can be doing an interview on you and we can talk about what you have done as a legend. In
all right. Thank you.
Because you're still pushing. And then here's the thing. Maybe it's time for you to get ready for the Masters Olympics.
Yeah. I just did a photo shoot in December, right before Christmas. So I usually do that every couple of years just to see what I look like,
that's how you set goals. And hopefully, I mean, you're inspiring me and you're inspiring others. And
thanks, Dave.
I mean, that's what it's about. We have to help each other and keep ourselves motivated and not let ourselves fall into depression or let the world bring us down.
Yeah. Well, it's still our passion. Like you said, we're always going to be bodybuilders, right?
Absolutely. We're bodybuilders in heart, men of steel.
Yeah. So are you going to the Arnold this year, Dave?
Actually, I was planning to go to the Arnold. We're waiting for our grass. We have to get our grass stuff on our Super Brood. It's coming. Okay. It's just, anytime you go through the FDA and things like that, some things take longer. We were all set to go there to promote what we're doing. But this year I'm actually going to, since I don't have the business aspect of it, and then the teen challenge is on hold just because we weren't getting quite the turnout of teens, for the Arnold, just because I think people are still trying to adjust that things are opening up.
Yeah, I know. It'll be interesting to see what it's like this year.
Yeah. So I think this year is going to be okay for the Arnold. Next year we'll be back. And, I'll be back there next year. And, so now this year I'm just, I'm going to stay back here, and actually I'm going to go to the gym and try to work out and think about how I'm going to look for the Arnold in a couple of years.
Right. All right. Sounds good.
Well, thank you very much, John.
Thank you, Dave,
for having me on your program, buddy. And that you consider me a legend that you put me on here. So
absolutely. You deserve to be on.
That's awesome, brother. Thank you very much. Take care.
Dave. Take care, buddy.
Bye-bye.